is the final countdown before NFL free agency, and your Denver Broncos are actually winning free agency before it even begins by not throwing all of their money at just two players. In this video, we're going to break down a couple players who a lot of people were banging their hands on the table saying these guys have to be Denver Broncos, who just signed mega deals to actually stay with their original team. And in this video, we're going to share why the Broncos actually are feeling like that is a blessing in disguise, and who are the Walmart options to make that $40 million in cap space go even further by not giving it all to just these two players. We're going to break that down way more in this video. If you're new to the channel, I'm a diehard Denver Broncos fan named Ben, and it helps me in the YouTube algorithm out a ton. If you like the Broncos, if you would like and subscribe. So the first area that we definitely want some help at is we need to have a 100-yard rusher this year for Bo Nix. It has been multiple seasons that we have had a player rush for 100 yards in one game, and a lot of folks were looking at Aaron Jones and saying he is the answer. Give Aaron Jones the bag. He was a free agent with the Minnesota Vikings, and a ton of people wrote articles, made podcasts, said Aaron Jones is coming to Denver. Well, the Vikings actually reclaimed Aaron Jones and gave him $20 million, a deal over 2 years with $13 million guaranteed money there. That's a lot of money to be paying a 30-year-old running back who is not named Saquon Barkley or obviously Travis Henry. Like, he is good, but there were a ton of people when I first broke down the rumor that he might come to Denver who was saying his yard per attempt was no better than any other Denver Broncos running back. And you were talking about him being 30 years old, and he was really the bell cow back there, and those carries and those hits stack up over years. And so I actually think that by not being able to secure Aaron Jones in this NFL free agency starting tomorrow, that means the Broncos have more money and more resources to put elsewhere, and it's going to force them to dig deep into this amazing star-studded NFL draft class that has more running backs than most folks have ever seen when it comes to that talent. So I think it's a blessing in disguise, and I definitely would not have felt comfortable throwing that type of money at Aaron Jones. I think it's a great move that we missed out on him. The player who I think a lot of us are very, very bummed about on two fronts. Number one, they're bummed about it because they wanted him wearing orange and blue. And number two, they wanted him in any color other than red. And this is Nick Bolton, re-signed with the Kansas City Chiefs. And again, you're talking one of the bigger deals for an inside linebacker. You were talking here about a 3-year, $45 million deal for him to stay with the Kansas City Chiefs. There were people when we were saying that I really wanted him in Denver that like, well, he kind of struggles in coverage and that's not what we need. And so there were already downsides with him, and especially at that type of price tag, that's an insane amount of money to be paying him. And again, he got a $30 million guaranteed contract, and you're just looking here, that really puts him like it goes Zach Bond and then Nick Bolton, and that's really not that far of a gap there. So Zach Bond is a $51 million deal, and Nick Bolton is a $45 million deal. I think that there are several options down in this range, and this is that Walmart range. This is what we did last year with Brandon Jones. This is what we did with Malcolm Roach, that, hey, we're not going to go for the A-lister. We're going to go for the B-plus lister whose ceiling is just as high, but maybe is not quite proven. So I think it's a blessing in disguise that the Broncos missed on both of those guys, and there are a couple options that I think might fit even better. So we're seeing a ton of bloggers come out there and talk about two possible replacements that now that Nick Bolton is out of there are two young guys who have a crazy high ceiling, and they are not going to fetch that type of price tag that Zach Bond did and Nick Bolton did. And this is going to be looking here both at Jamian Sherwood from the Jets. We're going to take a look at him, and then Robert Spillane from the Raiders, and before that was a Steeler before that. We're going to look at both of those guys and the guy who I think we could get right here at this Walmart range, and that is going to be Dre Greenlaw. I think he'll get a deal very similar to what Derek Barnes did, and so you're talking about saving $20 million in Dre Greenlaw over Nick Bolton. I think that's what the Broncos should do. So let's take a look at both of these kind of high ceiling guys and what they could be. First off, looking at Jamian Sherwood. Now, when I did a crossover episode with the New York Jets creator before the Jets played the Broncos, I was like, hey, we're going to just run all day on you guys because CJ Mosley was hurt. And what he came out and told me was like, you know what, actually in New York, we prefer Sherwood to CJ Mosley. Like, he is every bit as talented and doesn't bring any of the drama. And so you take a look at like what he could do, and you see in New York them saying like, hey, we'd take him over our top dollar linebacker in CJ Mosley. So that's cool and high praise from them, that's the type of person they prefer. You just see a ton of versatility, his ability to stop the run, step up and stop the run. We saw in that Buffalo game just getting run all over. We saw it in the game against the Baltimore Ravens getting run over. He brings a physicality to him that I think would be a huge, huge asset to this team. And again, you're getting that at Walmart pricing because he is not your A-list free agent. I think he has every bit the ceiling that a Nick Bolton does. And I think that could be a really, really cool thing. The other one would be Robert Spillane, who you've just seen do some like pretty wild stuff. This was back when Travis Henry was playing for the Tennessee Titans, and he was playing for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And just watching him on the 1-inch line step up and stuff Travis Henry, you don't see that happen very often whatsoever. And you also know that they're in Pittsburgh. They're very good at identifying inside linebacker talent. And so if they saw a lot in him there, that's a pretty cool sign. And you just see like his ability here in coverage, right? Stepping up there over in front of Lazard there with this pick, pretty sick, nasty move there. So you see the coverage skills that maybe you lack in a Nick Bolton. And then again, I think it's this one here where he picks off Jordan Love. And that's just kind of a common thing that, we saw. How many times did we see Cody Barton just burned on a wheel route and burned in coverage? And I think Robert Spillane could definitely step up and help fill that gap there. So I think those are the ones I want. And then lastly, just seeing here that Albert Breer made his prediction that he thinks Greenlaw is going to get a 3-year, $25 million contract because it's kind of a prove-it contract because after he blew his Achilles out in that Super Bowl, he hasn't necessarily gotten back up to that level. Achilles is a hard injury to come back from, but at 27, he's a lot more hopeful to come back from that than somebody like Aaron Rodgers or like Kirk Cousins, who are on the wrong side of 30. So I think this would be a fantastic thing for the Broncos to get him again in this Walmart tier of pricing, with his ceiling being quite a bit, just as high at least as Nick Bolton and just as high as Zach Bond. So those are my 3 targets for tomorrow. As Greenlaw would be number 1. Then I think Spillane and then Sherwood in those orders. I think the other piece of good news here is that we did not hear any news about Hufanga getting re-signed there with the San Francisco 49ers. I would love if we somehow came out of tomorrow with a safety. That would be amazing. And the last wrench that was kind of thrown in just recently is seeing here that Von Miller was cut from the Buffalo Bills and will be able to sign a deal tomorrow with another team. What are your thoughts about Von Miller returning to Denver, kind of doing his goodbye tour as a Denver Bronco? I kind of tend to agree here with Andrew Mason that I love his leadership, his intangibles. We wouldn't have that Super Bowl that we had without him, but we also have an insane platoon of edge rushers, and by bringing him in, you are taking snaps away from Dondre Tillman and Jonah Ellis and Jonathan Cooper and Nick Bonito. And you want as much development out of those young guys as you possibly can. But I think his role as a mentor, his role of like, hey, here's how to prep and be ready for big game moments. And just like he loves the Denver Broncos, and there'd be something pretty cool about bringing back a Super Bowl MVP to this organization. And could we give him a vet minimum deal with a ton of incentives and accelerators that he could move up to? Let me know in the comments. Sound alpha on that. Let me know what you think. And then lastly, let me know what you think about this. We had Brandon Perna, the godfather of Denver Broncos YouTube and all awesome things, come out and say that he thinks this might be the most boring NFL free agency of all time because we have had so many players re-sign back with their original team. Do you agree with that, or do you think there are enough A-listers out there that the Broncos still will come away from tomorrow being very, very excited? I'm still excited. Like, this is one of the days I look forward to and circle on my calendar. Make sure you're subbed here so you don't miss a single second of it. Who are we getting tomorrow? Are we getting one of those linebackers? Are we getting a safety? Are we getting a wide receiver? What's going to happen? This is going to be wild, so make sure you're buckled up, Broncos country, and we've got a ton to believe in. Oh.